What's up, everybody? It was raining all day. Now the sun is out, so I'm gonna go for a walk, get my little exercise in. I hope everybody's doing good. And most importantly, did you get your workout in, and or did you at least eat right? I want to make this show about whatever I named the topic of, but let me just talk about this a little bit here, man. You know, there's a lot of people in this neighborhood that I live in who bought some homes, and now I see that they're being foreclosed on and stuff like that. You got to make good financial decisions. You know what? Maybe I'll just make this about that, and I'll do another video about that. You got to make good financial decisions when you are when you're making these purchases, and you got to know beyond a shadow of a doubt and have some real job security. It's crazy because these people will try to hook you in. These people will try to hook you in. I'm talking about realtors. Hook you in to making the best decision for them, rather than thinking about you and your pocketbook. So you got to make the best decision for them. You should talk to a financial planner. Make sure you can afford the home. Think about emergencies, and buy a home that is built. Excuse me. That is based on your base income. Base income. Being a police officer, you can make a lot of money. I mean, the more overtime you do, and I'm sure it's like this for corrections, probably for fire department too, and other type of jobs where you get a lot of overtime. But you shouldn't buy a home on that. You should not buy expensive purchases on that. You should not buy a car. I remember one time this dude was talking about buying a house, and this is years ago. I worked with this guy at the PD. He was showing us the designs of his house. We used to we worked together in the PD, and he would we were like instructors together, and he was we used to do fighting instructions, arrest and control, we could call it. First we called it defensive tactics, then it switched to fighting, to arrest and control. There's always switching up the name to make it sound more palatable to the ordinary citizen. But now I think they call it arrest and control, but they might call it something different. And so we used to, he used to show us his the schematics for this house he was going to build. And at the time, it was a crazy expensive mortgage, like $3,000 and $3,500. This is 15 years before the house price ballooned. More than that, had to be. Yeah, 15 years ago, probably. Because I was a lieutenant. Anyway, like, why are you buying this $3,000 home? We all make roughly the same amount of money. He was consigning himself, forcing himself to work overtime, and what we call extra duty. Some departments call it road jobs or side jobs or something like that. When you see people on the side of the road or working in stores, the stores are hiring those people or whatever. It's some type of overtime, working in movie theaters, whatever. That doesn't come out of taxpayer money. It comes out of the store's budget, or if your light or power company's doing something in the roads or whatever they're doing, right? Your telephone company, whatever they're doing, digging in the road or on the highway, the state troopers and stuff. So what I'm saying is that you got to buy based on off of your base income. And I remember when I was buying a house one time, and I think at the time it was just me working, and I wanted to buy it just solely on my income. And at the time when my ex did get a job, I'd still be able to handle the mortgage. Now, you obviously can't do that today. I mean, the mortgage price is just ridiculous. I mean, unless you're really, really doing well and really consigning yourself to doing overtime. And I have friends who are doing exactly that. Their wives don't work, and they are consigning themselves. They're forcing themselves. They're building into their income. It's still cloudy out on this side of town. God, dog, is it going to rain again? They're consigning themselves. They're forcing themselves. They're resigning themselves to this idea that they got to do overtime. And I'm telling you, that's not the way to live. That is not the way to live, man. That is not the way to live. To be living paycheck to paycheck, you got to do overtime. You can't ever take a day off, can't ever take a nap, can't ever rest, can't ever just take the day off and just go take your woman to the movies or just have a me day, a rest day. No, don't do that kind of stuff. Buy it within your means. So there was a couple who had bought a house that I just drove by a little while ago, and they were doing so much work to their house. They were, doing the grass, and they had a bunch of rocks in the grass. They dug them all out and just making the house look nice and pretty. And I drive by it now. Everything's all grown over, and it's really just a sad sight to see that these people, for whatever reason, I didn't know them. I never introduced myself or anything. They just lost the house, or nobody's there for whatever reason. I don't know their circumstances again, but it's just a sad sight to see. And I just know that a lot of people are just buying these homes, and the house rates are just outrageous. We get it. A lot of people are having to rent homes now because a home that they would be able to buy, the bank is refusing to sell it, and they're making all the money and making all the profit and whatever. So listen, I really wish that the government would really do something about that. This whole capitalistic society, I could say a lot about capitalism, man. I am not down with what they have done. Maybe I'll do a review one day of what this lady who was just breaking down what capitalism has done, and or maybe I'll even clip it. I don't think it's very long. You can watch a full video for yourself. But this lady, this predatory capitalism that she's just talking about, this disconnection we have with the environment, what we've done, even the food, the food, and it really just bothers me what we have allowed to happen, and we don't vote according to how that goes on. So anyway, I just want to say that, and just buy within your means, and stop with the name brand stuff. And I have friends who are very much, they just always impressed by name brands, and a friend of mine goes to overseas, and he goes and just stocks up on name brands because they're so cheap over there. If you're buying them here in the U.S., you're just being taken advantage of. And what clout does that really give you? I haven't seen any benefits to that. I was dating this girl one time, and for whatever reason, she just loved Tommy Hilfiger. She just loved it. She just loved Tommy Hilfiger, and she always had it. And when she bought me a couple of gifts, it was Tommy Hilfiger stuff, and it didn't. Tommy Hilfiger is not made, in my estimation, for dudes who work out, right? My arms are kind of big. I'm like, man, you buy me this stuff, I can't really wear it. It's coming up it's stopping at my shoulder, like the short sleeve shirts. What is this? I like my stuff way down to my elbow. That's why I like my stuff, So, I don't know. But that's what she liked. It's what she liked. So some people are really, really into that. And so you got to make sure that you're into that too. And I just did a video about this guy talking about doing a cost benefit analysis and trying to figure out why these people why people aren't shopping, or aren't willing to buy people's stuff. Listen, I just had a conversation with a young lady not too long ago. Like she's not into that. She's not into that, and that's music to my ears, because I would rather be sitting on the beach, traveling on an airplane or whatever, than having some fancy thing on my back that's just going to get old. Everything's going to get old, and we're all going to eventually be gone. But so what's really going to matter? What's really going to last? And your impression of me means nothing. It's meaningless. And I think if a lot of people could figure this out early on in life, that the things that you are buying, the things that you are trying to do, your car and all this kind of stuff, are really meaningless, right? Who cares what type of car you're driving? It's impressive to you, and it's but eventually it's another bill, because things going to break. Things are going to break. They're going to wear down. You have to change the tires. You have to change the brake pads, and that stuff is just an extra layer of expense. Meanwhile, you could be living a good life on a lap of luxury. I throw a lot of gum. You can be living a good life in a lap of luxury, in a nice environment, calm, peaceful, rather than having your car set up in a shop. And I know a lot of people who buy expensive cars, and there's one girl I know, one lady I know, she was driving a Tesla, and her husband was driving a Mercedes or a BMW, and it was always in a shop. And I asked the question, like, you buy it brand new? Why is it always in the shop? And I couldn't figure it out. But eventually he got rid of it. And got and settled down and went down in models, right? Because he wanted something that was reliable. He couldn't always have his car in the shop. So now I don't know. I mean, you know what your bank account is, but I'd rather have money in my bank account, rather make sure I got 6 months to a year of savings, making sure I can travel, making sure I got food in my refrigerator and all that, man, making sure I got stocks, bonds, something to give my kids. You know, I just can't understand. I just can't understand this other stuff that people got going on. You know, but some people, that takes a long time to kick in. My family was like that. My mother used to tell me that as a kid, right? But as a kid, you want to, when I was growing up, we all wanted the Adidas. We wanted the Adidas and, shell toe Adidas. What else was there? Then we all switched over to Nikes, and when Jordan came out, so we all go through it. You don't want to be laughed at in school and whatever, but as an adult, you're still doing that. Birkin bags, you just got a closet full of them. Every time I see a Birkin bag that's worth $1,000, all I see is a vacation we could have had, or money we could have done, or a bigger house, or whatever. I mean, that's just the way I think. That's the way I process things. So let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Hit me in the comment section. And listen, if you got it, you got it. Hey, you got it. No shade to that. Make it work. Make it do what it do.